So, KZN Hawks head Lesetja Senona will continue testifying at the Madlanga Commission today. His close relationship with alleged criminal mastermind Vusumuzi Matlala came under sharp focus. Yesterday, Senona told commissioners that he enjoyed a brotherly relationship with Matlala. The KZN Hawks head has also testified about a meeting between Matlala and Provincial Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, which apparently took place in Umhlanga last year. Watching these developments is SABC News senior reporter Canny Maphanga. Live to us once again from the Bridget Mabandla Justice College. And Canny, before we reflect on Senona's testimony, perhaps let's just take a moment to let our viewers know about that statement from Senzo Mkhunu, where he denied allegations of meddling that were tabled before that inquiry earlier this week.
Indeed. Good morning to you, Ayanda, and to the viewers. We did see that evidence on Monday of Witness E that I think sent shockwaves through the nation, because if true, not only does it paint the police minister as an individual that was allegedly committing political interference and committing a gross level of abuse of power, but of course could also be someone who was in the realm of allegedly defeating the ends of justice by attempting to get Witness E to give a statement which would be favorable to him before the commission, that would essentially be false information being given there, and then of course interfering allegedly in the murder cases of Mapida and Sindiso Makaka. Following that shocking testimony that again gives him more questions to answer before this particular probe. Of course, he has sent a statement out. It doesn't go into the details of his denials, but he does state that he intends to deny this particular revelation before the commission, and his lawyers are currently dealing with the matter. Now that we know that he's already participating in this process, he is expected to come back during phase 2 and give the remainder of his evidence, and possibly he'll have to deal in quite great detail with these particular allegations of Witness E, because not only do they deal with serious implications for the police minister, but they also include recordings that will have to be interrogated before this particular probe. So the statement is quite clear about the denials, but of course when you want to hear what will support such denials, we'll have to wait for the police minister, Senzo Mkhunu, to make his way back to the commission and give his version in full.
It certainly does outline, or in fact drive home the point that the commission certainly has a lot of work ahead still. But today we're expecting to hear from Lesetja Senona. Yesterday was also quite a day of testimony. I mean, he went on to explain that he met Vusumuzi Matlala at his wedding. They went on to have a relationship, and at some stage spoke about this meeting apparently that took place between Matlala and Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi.
Indeed, and if anything is to be taken from yesterday's proceedings, is that this cross-examination will be quite a tough process for Major General Senona as he continues to take the stand from 9:30 a.m. this morning. Essentially, he had given his evidence stating a number of denials with respect to the allegations that he is facing. But again, the goal of cross-examination is to not take sides, but rather to get to the truth. And if there are discrepancies, it will be uncovered. And of course, that is the process that you are seeing taking place this morning, because you've seen testimony where he seeks to water down the alleged relationship between him and Vusumuzi Matlala as that of a social one, and doesn't go beyond any ulterior purpose or personal interest. However, the WhatsApp exchanges and the evidence that has been placed before the commission during cross-examination paints a different picture. If we look at the evidence relating to the disbandment letter, he struggled to explain why he would be sending that letter to Vusumuzi Matlala, who he says he didn't know was being investigated by the PKTT, and he didn't know would have an interest in the very PKTT being disbanded, that had closed in on him or was about to close in on him, and had conducted a number of operations not only at his house but also as his business residence. And he tries to paint a picture that he sent it to multiple friends, but when he has to support such a claim, he states that the phone has been destroyed. That is the kind of evidence that is being tested and giving us a light into those discrepancies that may exist in his particular testimony. We also saw an attempt where, if we look at it, it could seemingly have been a bid to paint KZN top cop Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi in a specific light. However, what it did is it didn't shift the focus onto the KZN top cop. It actually shifted it back onto Senona to answer very tough questions. There's this text message that he put before the commission that he described as threatening and a form of intimidation from Mkhwanazi. However, the context of that said text message came into focus and then revealed this alleged meeting, or rather the meeting that took place. I think all parties agree there was a meeting, but I think it's the content and what took place that will be in dispute going forward before the commission. So it seems that although this is just a social friend, we are seeing that he is admitting that he did accompany Kat Matlala to a meeting with the KZN top cop Mkhwanazi at the Pearls in Umhlanga. And we are hearing there that he is seemingly trying to suggest that he was in the kitchen pouring a drink and he wasn't involved in the contents of the discussion. However, that discrepancy was picked up by the evidence leader, who was able to relate the fact that he did not want to mention the name of Lieutenant General Sabia in the said text because it is possible that he was trying to get away from the fact that there was a discussion or a recording that would allegedly reveal alleged wrongdoing by Sabia in that particular meeting that discussed this payment orders. He also struggles to explain that if they just a social, I guess it's just a social relationship, why he needed to assist him to this extent to ensure that there were payment orders. That still hangs in the air regarding his relationship with Vusumuzi Matlala. Another discrepancy that has come up, which is quite concerning for the Commission's bench, is that you do see in the WhatsApp exchanges between him and Vusumuzi Matlala that Kat sends him a video of an internal SABC supply chain management meeting about the payments, and this is someone who's outside of the SABC network, that is Kat Matlala, but at no point does Senona question how he has that video, and at no point does he actually report the said video to finance or supply chain management to say that, hey, there is a breach here and there's someone outside of the SABC network that will have that information that they shouldn't have. All of this, these discrepancies rather, will continue to be discussed and be pointed out by cross-examination as Senona remains on the stand from 9:30 a.m. this morning. Over to you in studio.
Yeah, before we let you go, Kenny, there was also a moment, of course, that Senona took to explain this relationship that his son Tato had with Matlala. He went as far as admitting that they did have a business type of interaction.
Indeed, he says that his son is an independent individual that has a right to conduct legal business in South Africa, and he reduces the interactions with Tato and Kat Matlala to that of his property company, that is Tato. And then he also says that the transaction didn't get completed between the pair, so they actually didn't finish the deal that they sought to achieve. However, what is being alleged here is that Tato would have allegedly been, I guess, the middleman for the alleged benefit to Senona, that is Lesetja Senona, for the, I guess, the assistance he would have given Matlala, whether it is allegedly leaking those private SABC confidential documents or allegedly assisting him with his SABC contract. However, that is the evidence that is still being tested before the commission as they continue to try to get to the bottom of this alleged relationship and whether or not the version of Senona will stand when he completes his cross-examination.